Tonight, the 12 On Your Side investigators dig deeper after the Department of Energy confirms not one, not two, but 4 radioactive wasp nests at Savannah River site.
We know the internet has had a lot of fun with this one, and it really does sound like a movie. But as your Meredith Anderson shows us, some wonder what the wasps really tell us about what's happening with the environment.
It sounds like the perfect origin story for a comic book hero. A wasp exposed to radioactive waste, and he becomes Wasp Man. But this isn't a comic book. This is real life. The discovery of wasp nests, the radioactive ones at Savannah River site, made international headlines. But SRS, that's in our own backyard. And sure, the Department of Energy said we have nothing to worry about. But for years, I've been uncovering workers at SRS who were also told they had nothing to worry about. And now they're fighting various cancers and the government for benefits. Not trying to poke a hornet's nest here, but it is fair for us to ask questions. And a professor at the University of South Carolina might be the perfect person to weigh in.
I'm primarily what they call an ecological geneticist.
For the past 2.5 decades, Dr. Timothy Mousseau has been working in Chernobyl, ground zero for the worst nuclear accident in history. He's also studied the effects of radiation on plants, animals, and yes, insects in Fukushima, Japan. So you might say radioactive wasp nests are kind of his specialty. And when he heard some were found at SRS,
Well, I'm not surprised.
he looked at this report.
Of course there are.
But he says it really doesn't tell him much at all.
We weren't told which radioisotopes, which radionuclides were present in the wasp material.
The report says the radiation level was 10 times what's allowed by federal regulations, claiming it's the result of on-site legacy radioactive contamination. That's just a fancy way of saying it's from nuclear waste that's been there a really long time. It also suggests it's not related to a loss of contamination control, but Dr. Mousseau wonders if the wasps are trying to tell us something.
These are sentinels of the current state of affairs environmentally on site.
We also don't know what kind of wasp nests these were, the paper kind or the mud kind. Radioactive mud dauber nests didn't cause too much of a buzz when 12 On Your Side Investigates found these reports of a few of them in 2003, similar to the SRS ones at the Hanford nuclear site in Washington state. But in 2009, we learned, apparently, there were thousands of those nests built in 2003, and workers had to dig up 1 foot of topsoil from 6 acres on site. Which brings us back to SRS, a site very much veiled in secrecy. Aside from radioactive bird poop in 2017 and whispers of radioactive turtles and gators, we've heard so very little. Plus, Dr. Mousseau says we could have learned so much more from this. He believes killing the wasps and throwing away the nests were a missed opportunity.
Very little of this kind of research is actually going on, and much more needs to be done, especially given that we seem to be on the cusp of a new nuclear energy renaissance at this point.
Especially here locally with Vogel and talks of breathing life into South Carolina's failed VC Summer project. And then there's the threat of nuclear war. But the threat of getting stung by a radioactive wasp and turning into Wasp Man, we can comfortably say those chances are 0, even if it would be a great comic book.
Dr. Mousseau had a lot of interesting things to say about radiation. For example, mushrooms are biomultipliers of it. Still today, he says mushrooms as far away from Chernobyl as Germany can be radioactive from that disaster all those years ago. A lot of his work in Chernobyl involves studying dogs left behind when everyone evacuated. We can learn a lot from them, he says, about how radiation exposure could affect humans. These are some pictures of some of his work studying those dogs. He actually sends food to help feed them, and the cats there too. It's especially important now with the war in Ukraine. If you would like to donate to help, I'll put all that info online with this story. I'll also put our full interview. It's fascinating if you want to hear more about his work and our conversation.